Well, thank you for joining me for another IT Wire and Alex on Tech Video. I have with me today Greg O'Lone. He is the Regional VP of Epicor. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now we're here. Oh, thank you very much for being part of the show. Now we're here today at Epicor Insights 2018 on day one. Thank you for the invitation to come. We're in Nashville and you have an impressive 3,400 attendees. It's a great looking conference. The keynotes this morning were packed. And I thought I'd start off by asking, before we get into your role, just what's your impression of the event so far? I mean, we're just only at lunchtime on day one. And also, what were the most sort of memorable things for you from the keynote from this morning?
Well, look, the show is fantastic. I was really excited about coming this year, and the numbers, 3,400 people, is outstanding. So we've grown the number of people turning up, which is fantastic to see. I think from the keynotes, the key two announcements today, the Microsoft partnership and the Azure platform. I think it's a change for Epicor. We've hosted our own cloud, and I think this is Epicor going back to its strength. You know, what are we? We're a software company. We make ERP. We're not necessarily a hosting company. So partnering with one of the world's best, if not the best, cloud infrastructure company is a significant change, and that enables us to invest more into the software and the technology to help our customers do business. One other thing I saw, and I really, maybe I love drones and toys, but the customer that has actually deployed a drone to do cyclical stock counts in the warehouse. I hadn't thought of that application. You know? I know drones aren't necessarily toys, and in my career I've worked in organisations where drones have been used productively. However, seeing that in a warehouse, doing a stock take, to me, that frees people up. It frees employees up from a process that takes them off doing their job. It's an important process. In fact, it's a process that can now be run constantly, daily. Inventory may go missing. Where's that inventory? I only now need to look back and say, well, it's only been missing for 24 hours. To a workplace safety issue, I've not got people necessarily climbing up ladders. So it can provide so many advantages, and getting real information in real time about what's happening in the warehouse.
And speaking about the warehouse, I mean, we saw today that, I mean, some of your customers are still on-prem, you know, and some of them want to do hybrid. So it's great to have Microsoft there with the cloud, and obviously they have great strength in that area. But I mean, you cater for customers across the spectrum, and then in that warehouse situation, we saw examples of people who are using APIs to automate processes and systems and give them great visibility into their warehouse processes and manufacturing processes that they never had before.
That's right.
It was really quite. It's just the power of technology at work.
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point. We do have a lot of customers who are on-prem, and we have a lot of customers who are on cloud, and a significant advantage of Epicor is that you can have one or the other, and it is the same product.
You can have both.
You can have both, you can. And you can actually switch between them. So I've got examples of customers who've moved obviously from our on-prem product to our cloud product. I've got a couple of examples of customers who have moved back to on-prem for different reasons. And that ability to be able to easily do that is significant, because the cost of moving platforms is significant.
And then of course we also saw in the keynote the ability to have the new design tools to actually make the interfaces that you and your customers are putting together be beautiful and responsive across all those different platforms. I mean, just because you work in a warehouse doesn't mean it can't be beautiful.
Well, I think beautiful and responsive is really important, to be able to use the product on a different device and to be able to move between them easily, but also being able to adapt to how you want to operate. That's the way we think. I need my software to operate the way I operate, not operate the way the vendor designed it.
I'm over here in the island. I'm looking.
Sure. And so, sorry for just that interruption there, but that's okay. So look, you've been in the role for about a year. Tell us a little bit about what it's been like to be at Epicor for the past year, and the sort of things you've learned, and some of the customers that you've helped on the journey.
I think the most interesting part of my role is spending time with customers. I spend a fair chunk of my time travelling around Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific region, visiting with customers and visiting with prospects, talking about their businesses and what they need to do.
I'm imagining some of them are all new to this whole digital transformation game, or they may have efforts from years ago that are not as advanced as they could be today.
Yeah, they are. There are many. I've visited factories that have a dirt floor. I've visited very modern smart factories. I've visited our aged care customers where they're needing to change the business because of varying demands in the market. Aged care is an interesting market, and they're being driven by compliance issues, by funding issues, by changes in legislation. The need for them to adopt new technology, automation, improve process changes, and stay up with the latest. It's driving them, and that driver is keeping them up at night. It's a significant issue to our customers to how do I adapt, how do I change and remain relevant, yet continue to operate my business at the same time.
And through some of those journeys, I mean, you must have taken people from, you know, the beginning through to a completed project, and they must be in awe of how their business has transformed, the amount of time they've gained, or the productivity or profits. I mean, you must really be helping people to change everything and at the same time change nothing in a sense.
Well, I think the important piece is it's change together. We're partnering with our customers. This ERP implementation is a long-term process. It's not something that you take on easily. I like to say it's like doing a heart transplant while you're awake.
Yeah.
And you're operating your business.
Fixing the plane, right?
While it's flying. People need to operate their businesses, and this process involves the distraction in their organisation to rebuild and to do what they want to do and to be able to innovate and change their organisation. They don't want to just simply replicate what they had before. They're looking for productivity improvements.
Yeah. One of the examples in the keynote this morning was of a company that takes automation equipment that's second-hand, I think they were saying, and repurposing it, and they had some very exacting requirements that they demanded of Epicor, and he was very pleased to say that Epicor worked with him and delivered. So you must have had similar sorts of things in Australia where people have said, look, I need you to be able to do this. It doesn't say you can do this, but can you do it? And you must have been able to say yes.
One of the advantages of Epicor is the flexibility of the system. That can be a catch-22. If you over-customise a system, you can become stuck. So my advice to anyone looking for a new ERP system is work out what your requirements are, understand intimately what you want to do through the selection process, find a vendor that is as close to that as you can, and limit the amount of customisations. That way you're not stuck on a version or you're getting into a process that is overcomplicated. But if it is a key competitive advantage to your business, Epicor can help you to deliver that and do that in a way that you can actually adapt that yourself and not necessarily have to come back to Epicor to write code for you to do that.
Are there any other customer stories you'd like to share?
I'd probably like to talk about one customer of mine in New Zealand, and the guys at Sistema. So you might know Sistema.
The packaging.
It is. They make drink bottles and they make lunch boxes and a whole range of products. It's a very innovative organisation, both in the products that they deliver to market and the uniqueness of those products.
I've always thought of it as a smarter version of Tupperware.
That's right. It is. It is. They're really an innovative organisation, and the way they take Epicor and get Epicor to do what they need within their business, and they connect our different products to help them to automate processes end to end. And it's not just on the factory floor, it's through the office, it's through order processing, it's through analysis, it's through taking information out of the ERP and making that real and live to people to be able to make decisions. And effectively, a business system should enable you to make decisions faster and more easily, rather than having to rely on cumbersome reports or processes of manual intervention.
Outdated processes, yeah. Now, work's all meant to be, productivity and seriousness, but what's some fun that you've had in the past year in the role?
Look, the fun, I'll talk about customers again. It's getting out and visiting with customers, and whether I'm visiting a customer in their factory, in their warehouse, or I'm visiting an aged care facility or the head office of an aged care business and understanding what they're trying to achieve and how we can help them get there. That we start a journey with our customers, or we're on a long-term journey with existing customers. We've got customers that have been with us for over 20 years, and they're on that journey, and we're remaining relevant to them, and they're remaining relevant to us, which is very important. I suppose one of the more interesting times I've spent is visiting the opening of an aged care facility and being there with some celebrities and dignitaries and celebrating with that customer the opening of their business. And I feel I get the privilege of being involved in my customers' businesses, not just a vendor-customer relationship, but in a partnership. And I don't mean partnership in just a casual manner.
Making a real difference.
We're in it together.
So if we were to gaze into the crystal ball and imagine what things might be like in 2028, where does that vision take you with Epicor?
With Epicor, Epicor is going to continue to focus on its core competency of an ERP supplier. However, in my vision of ERP is that the software becomes easier. The software is easier to use, it's easier to implement, it's easier to upgrade. And that I'd love to see fully automatic software. The
AI.
software, AI. It will understand.
Achieving its full potential.
It will implement itself.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not in the short term, but the software needs to understand the organisation and offer automatic processes and understand where maybe the human doesn't understand, but the software can work out what we're doing. And I don't think that's that far away.
Absolutely. So as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to ask if you can please share the best advice that you've ever received to help you get where you are today.
The best advice I've been given, I'd have to say that would come from my father. It's purely hard work.
Yeah.
I may not be the smartest person, but I work hard, and I grew up in an environment with a father that did work very hard, and I'm very proud of his contributions, and I'd like to live up to his memory of being a hard worker and giving back.
Diligence and persistence
That's
pays
right.
off.
That's right.
So what's your final message to ITY viewers and readers and to your current and future customers and partners?
I'd like to say that the process of implementing an ERP, of selecting an ERP, of running it, isn't an easy process. It is a complex part. It touches most parts of your business and your organisation. It is supposed to give you an advantage. It's supposed to save you money. It's supposed to be a solution for your business. So when selecting a vendor or a partner to work with, really focus down on how you're going to work together. How's this relationship going to work in 5, in 10, and hopefully in 20 years' time? The vendor you've chosen and the solution you put in is still relevant to your business. You don't want to really go through this process every few years. It's a difficult process, but it can be fun. If you're working with the right partner, you're going to have problems. Something will go wrong. Something always goes wrong. Was it expected? Is there a way around it? If there's not, what are we going to do and how are we going to fix that problem together? So again, in that sense of partnership and being in it together, I think just open and transparency and working with each other, that goes a long way, and that's a relationship.
And of course these learnings help you with future customers because you've dealt with these situations and you can solve them much more quickly
That's
the next
right.
time around.
I've seen it before, this is what happened, maybe this suggestion could help, maybe we can come up with a way of doing that together.
Sure. Well, Greg, it's been great to talk to you this morning at Epicor Insights 2018. I hope you have an excellent rest of the conference and hope to meet you in Australia.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you very much.